Hey, wise. Good evening. You're probably wondering, Coach T, what are you doing on tonight? Well, I want to talk to y'all. Share some information with you. Hopefully without interruptions. Y'all know I'm not on the sofa. I am in the upper room. Happy self-evening Thursday. Don't y'all get used to this. Probably not gonna be a regular at all. But I realized, like, it's also Labor Day weekend. I'm like, listen, Coach T is shutting down, honey. Coach T is shutting down. So I'm whispering a little bit because we have the misters in the building. The misters are in the building. And so I want to be mindful of them. But I wanted to come on and share some highlights, y'all. I want to share some highlights with y'all. I want to share with you some information. I wanted to share with you some things that I got going on. And, of course, I want to leave y'all with something to kind of chew on over this Labor Day weekend as we enter into this new month. Praise Jesus. I wanted to just kind of prep y'all for the new month since I'm not going to be on tomorrow. So if this is your first time, welcome. My name is Coach T. I am and y'all gonna probably hear the young one over there. He is in full blast video gaming. Hello. He is in full blast video gaming, and so y'all might hear him in the background. But my name is Coach T. I am a mental health wife coach and marriage consultant, and I coach wives who are going through a marital separation that involves abandonment, addiction, and adultery. Many of these wives who I coach are trying to figure out whether or not they should stay in this unhealthy marriage, whether or not they should proceed forward in this marriage. A lot of times these wives are kind of like at a crossroads of like what to do next. They're hearing a lot of different influences. They're getting a lot of, different opinions about what they should be doing. And they're conflicted. They're conflicted because many times these wives have heard specifically from God about their assignment. They have heard specifically from God about their stand. They have heard specifically from God about what they're supposed to be doing next. A lot of these wives that I coach are battling a lot of mental and emotional distress. They are battling a lot of mental and emotional distress. Grief is on heavy. They are at a loss of what's going to happen next with their marriage. And so I have been called the midwife of for wives who are going through a marital separation, to help them push through this journey in the most healthiest way. And so, welcome. The prayer I'm going to pray is, Jesus, be a fence. All right? Jesus, be a fence. Y'all know I try to be real easy with praying on here. I do pray before I come on as a Christian, because I do minister in my business. Like I have shared before, a lot of times people mistaken this page as a ministry versus a business. And I want people to recognize this page as a business. I am a wife coach provider, not just your minister or mentor. All right, I am a wife coach provider. I'm right in the same category, for the wives who are, going to go and get their physicals did. You're going to go and, check on your physical health. You're going to go get your eye exam. You're going to go get your pap smear. You're going to go get, your blood work did. All right. I'm in the same building. All right. I may be a little bit further down, but I'm in the same building. So, listen, y'all, I was on yesterday with an amazing self-care strategist who asked me to join her in Clubhouse. It was actually on Clubhouse. And I have shared the link to that full video, the link to that replay. That link to that replay. And you do not have to have a Clubhouse app to listen to it. So it is available. But I wanted to come on since I'm not going to be on tomorrow and probably for the rest of the weekend. This is, Labor Day weekend. I'm going to sit back and enjoy the fruits of my labor. Hello. But this is also my oldest son's birthday and, that kind of stuff. And so I'm taking a break. I'm going into hiding. I'm gonna, it's been a lot of warfare over the last couple of weeks, and so I'm going to kick off my shoes and relax my feet. I'm going to go and prioritize myself as a provider because it is necessary as I prepare for, this new month, this month of shifting, this month of change. This month is, where God is doing stuff. And when I tell you he's doing stuff. God has been having me on these writing assignments lately. Baby, your girl is tired, okay? I am tired. He is doing something with me when it comes to writing. And so I need a break. And so I wanted to come on tonight and just share a few things from the interview on yesterday, which was so amazing. I was so privileged to be, asked to come and, share my perspective and just kind of give my insight. And so if you get a chance to see, to listen to the replay, it will really, really encourage you. It will really bless you. She was just able to kind of like, ask me some questions of my journey, ask me some questions about, my why, which is what I want to talk about tonight. She was able to, explore some areas. We had a lot of things in common when it came down to what we do as coaches. A lot of similarities on, how we coach, and the, different individuals that we coach. And so it was really, really nice just to be a part of that. And so I'm very, very, very thankful to that. But it was something that she said that stood out that I kind of wanted to address tonight here as we prepare and as we go into this new month and as we prepare for what God is getting ready to do for you next. So one of the questions I always leave you with, or I always, encourage you about, or I always, kind of like throw out there as a statement is you need to find out your why. You need to find out your why. You need to find out your why. So many wives are in a season, are in positions, are in a place where they are like, they just kind of like out here just doing this thing and they don't know. And one of the hardest places to be in, is outside of the will of God. One of the hardest places to be in is in the middle of something that God has not called you to, or God has not ordained, or God has not ordered for you. And so one of the things that I am very, very mindful of when I coach wives, when I, am helping, my clients, is trying to get them aligned with where it is that God wants to take them, what it is that God is doing with them in their marriage, what it is that God wants them to know about their marriage and what they got going on, and what are their next steps. You know, I really try to help that wife to, you know, gain clarity about her journey, gain clarity about, you know, what her next steps are. I'm not going to talk about that. I'll wait on that part. And so one of the questions I always, you know, kind of throw out there is, you know, or statements is, you know, what is your why? What is your why? And so, you know, I can't talk about this kind of stuff without going down memory lane and, of course, sharing some of my transparency. And so I go back to when my husband and I, you know, my husband had came back home. We were back in a reconciled place. Things were in a good place for us. You know, we had been in a good place for a minute. And one of the things that the young lady brought up, the coach brought up on last night was, you know, how so many individuals struggle in their marriages when it comes down to like the guilt and the shame. And a lot of times people are not, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So one of the things that she mentioned was about how so many struggle about even talking about their marriage, you know, injuries because of the guilt and the shame and because of the embarrassment and because of, you know, just the, you know, all the things that go along with, you know, when you're going through a hardship. I've shared with you guys plenty of times that, you know, I was almost like that person that, you know, it was like, yuck, we don't want to be around her. We don't want to get her contagious disease of separation. You know, like, yeah, she's not with her husband. I don't want that to come on me. Like, we don't want to be around her. And sometimes people treat you like that. You know, sometimes people treat you like that. And so that was something that I experienced. That was something that I experienced on my journey. And so I say that to say, I lost my train of thought because I ain't got no notes. I'm just kind of freestyling tonight. I wrote down some stuff, but not much. I say that to say, when it comes down to talking about the marital hurt, the marital pain, the marital injury, people struggle with doing that. And so my husband and I, we were reconciled back home. Things were moving in a forward direction. I think I've shared with you guys before that, you know, my husband came home. Things were good. Things were good with him. And then it was like, rewind. And I don't want to say, you know, it was just, I don't want to say that God didn't prepare me or tell me. You know, I almost thought that like maybe that this wasn't going to happen. Because God had already told me. He had already told me that it wasn't where, you know, I wanted it to fully be at. It wasn't going to be there. I had to wait till a certain year for it to get to that place. But the part that I think I missed was don't stop doing your work. Don't stop, you know, coming to me. Don't stop focusing on me. Don't stop doing, you know, what you've been doing, you know, before he came here, because that is going to determine whether or not you're going to be able to be successful on this journey. That's going to determine how you're going to be able to, you know, ride this thing out, because we are going to go back. He didn't say we were going to go back, but he did tell me, God did tell me that that my marriage was not going to be fully restored to a certain year in my marriage once my husband came home. I don't think I ever shared that with y'all. But that was something that the Lord had shared with me. He said, you know, your marriage will not be restored until this, you know, this specific year. And so, but the way things were going, you know, in my marriage, I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't think twice about it because it was like going so well. Everything was looking so grand. Everything was so great. Well, when that relapse moment happened in the marriage, I was like, I had to completely forgot what God had said. Because when you are on that high, when you are on that, you know, when things are on that up and the up, and this is one of the things I always just try to emphasize with wives, like, don't get caught up. Don't fall for the okadoke. Don't get caught up in that high moment. Don't get caught up in that grand moment. Like, make sure that you are using discernment. Make sure that your ears are open to what the Lord is saying. Make sure that you are still sitting in the presence of the Lord. Make sure that you are still getting instructions, because the enemy has a way of tricking you and making you, in other words, deceiving you and making you think one way when really it's like but God is trying to do something else, and you have to be on the lookout. You have to be, on the lookout. And so, I mean, I was on this high. I was on this roller coaster ride. Like, baby, honey, you can't tell me nothing, baby. We are here. We are here. I mean, vacationing and hanging out and just doing all kinds of stuff. Like, just like old times. It felt like, man, this is better than before. This was better than we had it. And I remember when the Lord was like, hey, you had forgot, like, he came and like tapped me on my shoulder and like, you had forgot what I had told you. And I think I share that with y'all all the time, that was one of the things that God kind of gave me, like that, that warning, like, your relapse is up the mile, like your relapse is around the corner. Your relapse is heading your way. You need to get in position. And so one of the things I tell my wife clients even now, once your husband come back home, because after the wives do their, and I'm skipping around, but I'm going to come back to I'm making a point. Once your husband come back home, that wife needs to then get back on her regimen with her wife coach and check in once a month for a whole year. That wife needs to check in for a whole, once a month for a whole year. Now, once the wife finishes her bonusy boost and then we walk through that year of her checking in by herself, then from there, I kind of space it out where, now I don't have to see you every month. Now I see you every 3 months or, every 3 to 6 months. Just depends on, where you are, what you need. But the moment that your husband returned back home, that's like a whole nother journey that you're getting ready to take. It's a whole nother ride that you're getting ready to take. And so one of the things I always tell wives, when your husband come home, that is not the time like, all right, thank you, coach, thank you for what you did, I appreciate you, I holler at you, peace out. No, that is when you need to be connected to a coach even the more, because there are different things that's going to come up on your journey that is going to cause you to be like, okay, wait a minute, what's going on? And you don't want to fall for the okie doke and mess around and relapse and go backwards and fall on this and then have to start all over. A lot of times I hear stories about wives whose husbands have come home. Their husbands have come home, and because they thought that, oh, God reconciled my marriage, God restored my marriage, I'm back in this good place, I'm back in this healthy place. I don't need no counselor. I don't need this. I don't need that. But just like for a brand new car, come on, Jesus. I always share about a person who, like, when you go get your oil change, you don't go get your oil changes one time. You don't get your oil change like once a year. No, you have to get that oil change however many it was, every 100 miles. You need to get that oil change. Maybe not so much in a newer car, but you still have to get it done more than once. And so a lot of times, and when I used to coach my couples, one thing I used to always tell them is like, safeguard your marriage. Like the same way that you make sure that you do your regular maintenance when it comes down to your hair, it comes down to shopping, it comes down to, vacation. Make sure that you sketch in a date for your marriage, for you and your spouse. Make sure that you check in. And many times people are like, oh, well, we don't need no check in. We find everything good, even if everything is good. You never know, something may have come up that you may have overlooked. You may not have necessarily seen. You may not be aware of. And so I did still have my coach during that time. But baby, I was so high up in the clouds. I don't think she could even reach me. I was that high. I was like, ooh, on cloud 9, maybe 99. I don't think I was just on cloud 9. I was on cloud 99. Okay, that's how high I was. It was like, baby, I ain't coming from off of this mountain. This is up. Totally forgetting what God had already told me, before, everything happening when my husband actually came home. So now I'm going back to when the relapse took place. There was this specific person at my church that I was up underneath her teaching. And she was a great teacher. She's a great teacher, and she taught a lot about just marriage and, talk to the wives. And so I remember when things had started, going shaky and stuff and looking a certain kind of way. And I was like, wait, we're not doing this. I'm not going backwards. I'm not going to go backwards. I'm not going to do this. And I felt in my spirit that I needed to reach out to this person. I really need to reach out to this person. And so sure enough, I had reached out to her or whatever, and I had shared with her. And what was happening is I was actually, during that time, I was in the middle of hosting a small group, on the outside. So now I'm not just reconcile back with my husband. Now this stuff is coming up, but now I am coaching, wives, and I have my own personal small group outside of the church. I'm gonna come back and talk about that in a minute. And so I was getting like wore out, like on both ends. I was dealing with, what I was dealing with him, and then I was getting the weight of the group, just dealing with the group. And so I was just talking to her, because she had once upon a time used to offer these same types of settings as well at her home. And so I thought, well, maybe that's the reason why the Lord wanted me to reach out to her, because she would understand more than anything, because she went through this kind of same thing. So maybe she can give me some counsel on what I needed to do. And so when I talked to her and I was telling her what had happened, of course everybody knew my husband's story, knew what had happened with him, and it was known that man, God really did a work in your marriage, and even with your husband, and this and that and the other. So when I was telling her about these things, of course it brought up a lot of embarrassment, a lot of shame, a lot of, oh my God, I feel like I'm starting all over again type of thing. And I remember telling her, I really don't want to go down this path again. Like, I really don't want to do this. And I remember her telling me, pause. Like, pause, Tanika. And I was like, but you're not even doing it no more. What you mean, pause? But she was like, pause. She said, I see something. I see something with you. I see something with you. I see something different that's happened with you. And she was saying that, I know that it may not seem fair. It may not seem right. But I want you to pause and be real careful about making your next step and making your next move, because God is calling you to a place. God is calling you to a place, and it has more to do with not just your marriage, but it has more to do with something else. So I'm thinking to myself, lady, like, what is you talking about? Like, you know what I went through, okay? I done shared the testimony. I done shared the stories. I done went through the whole kaboom with you. I was in your class. Like, you know what I went through. And so she was like, but Tanika, you have a gift. You have a gift that God is trying to produce. You have a gift that God is trying to bring forward. She said, I see you in the area of healing. I see you in the area of healing, like you are a healer. And so when she said that, I was like, pause. Because I'm like, oh my goodness. Because that wasn't the first time I had heard that, right? So when she used the word healer, and again, this is not trying to be creepy or creep anybody out, because a lot of people out here using, the words healer and saying things, and they healing and doing some other kind of stuff. That's not what I'm doing here. We're not doing that foolery. I'm up underneath the umbrella of the Lord. Jesus Christ is my the head over my life. All that other foolery that people got going on, we ain't doing that here. And so that really made me take a step back and kind of examine and look at the situation and look at the situation a little bit differently. So she said, give yourself some time before you make a decision to do that. She said, don't just jump out there and just do something like that. You need to really go to God. And what she told me, she didn't necessarily tell me to go to God about my marriage. She told me to go to God about that gift. She told me to go to God about that gift, and I really need to seek God out about what it is that she's seen, and that I needed to go after God in that way. And so sure enough, I did. But that didn't change the situation at home, right? The situation at home still began to get worse. Over time, it got worse. And I remember the Lord telling me about the small group that I was doing. The small group I had was a great group. It was called Warrior Wife. And what the Lord had pointed out to me was you wasn't going to be able to keep doing this for two reasons. He said, for one reason, the things that you're doing in this group, you are now going to be doing it and charging. He said, and the second reason is because the women in this group require too much. So when people ask me questions like, well, Coach T, do you do support groups? Or do you do groups for, for wives? And my answer to that, my response to that all the time is no, I don't do that because of that reason. I don't do the small groups because I am not trying to be looked at as that person. I'm not going to do Bible study with you. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to sit with you. We're going to sit and read the Bible. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit with you and just go through scriptures. Like, I am a wife coach provider. And so I do my best work in intimate spaces. And when wives are going through a season of hardship, that is their time to do their own personal work. That is their time to be able to be as vulnerable as they want. And everybody don't need to be in that. I always tell wives, those types of groups is for, ones who are hosting. Like, sometimes they have Facebook groups that have, smart groups. I host, if you in the Atlanta metro Atlanta areas, I do host a small group once a month with my church. I do that, but as far as me doing that in my business, I do not do that. And the reason I do that is because of what the Lord specifically said to me during that time. Hello. And so he said, you're going to have to cut this group. You're going to have to cut this group. He said, but in that group, you're going to get your first client. Right? In that group, you're going to get your first client. And I did. I had a client from that group she was my first client for like 3 years. And so, the group came to end, but the things in the marriage began to get worse. I mean, it got so bad. I was like, there's no doggone way I can continue doing this, what you're calling me to do, God. There's no way. And so I shared to say, you have to find out your why on this journey. And so many times, wives are entangled with everything that their husbands have going on, that they're not paying attention to what God is trying to show them. They're not paying attention to what the lesson is that he's trying to teach them. They're not paying attention to what he's trying to produce out of them. They're not paying attention to the things that he is trying to bring forth. Many times, wives feel like, if my husband is not on board with me, then what is the reason or what is the use for me to pursue this? A lot of people try to figure out that when God tells you to be still, sometimes God will tell a person to be still and not to do anything, not to divorce, not to end that marriage, not to do this, not to do that. And he will still walk with you, heal you, get you better, get you healthy, and then that marriage still comes to an end. That didn't mean that, okay, well, God told me to be still, maybe he won't, this marriage to work out. It could have meant that God wanted you to be still so he can get whatever you need to get out of this so that you can get to that next place and get to the next place that you need to be on your journey. So many wives are so hooked on my marriage. But if we go to 1 Corinthians, 7, it talks about if the unbelieving spouse leave, right? It talks about if that unbelieving spouse leave. If you go to, the book of, in the Gospels, in Matthew, where Moses do give the decree if if a spouse cheats, that, that person can divorce. Like if you go scripture based off of, based off of, adultery taking place, and even with some type of abandonment and abuse, scripture is there that will release that person from that marriage. But what I always tell wives is, make sure before you decide to just go based off of scripture only, make sure that you get into that place with God. And I always say, for at least for 30 days, hear from God so he can let you know what your next instruction is. It doesn't mean that he wants you to stay necessarily in that unhealthy marriage. Maybe he wants to just keep you grounded in this place until he does whatever he needs to do next. Or sometimes he will keep you in that marriage, but he will be working things out on the other end while he's working some things out on you. All right. You know what your instructions are. You know what God said to you specifically. And this is where the why comes in at. This is where the why comes in at. I always tell wives, if God has asked you, if you are certain that God has asked you to stay in this unhealthy marriage, you need to find out why. You need to find out why. You don't need to be finding out why your husband or what your husband had going on, or what this or what that. Now, I will come back and say, if you are a wife and you're going through a separation and you have questions about your husband cheating, and you have questions about his behavior, and you have questions about, him just deciding to leave, and you have questions about, why all of a sudden this is happening to me, and you have questions to, how he can be in a marriage and how we can be married this many years and he decides to go and leave and be with the other woman. If you have questions like that, then this is what a wife coach provider allows you that space to be able to talk about those things. We don't want to ever just, shove your not kind of just push your emotions to the side. No, you do need to acknowledge your pain. You do need to walk through that. You do need to sit through that. You do need to be able to navigate that. We talked about the grief chart, the grief cycle. That was one of the things that we spoke about on the interview yesterday. You do need to go through your grief cycle. There are some things that you do need so you can start doing your necessary work. And sometimes that means you do need to talk about your feelings and talk about your grief and talk about the agony and talk about the pain and talk about, the suffering and talk about what he did. And so there is a space that is sketched out for you to do that. But it's not for you to stay there, okay? It's not for you to stay there. Once you get out of that box, once you get all those emotions, handled, dealt with, once you get out of that space, which is why you need someone that you can talk to about that and not trying to talk to just, somebody on the outside, especially about something that they have never been through or experienced themselves. The reason why you need to talk to somebody about that who has actually went through that is so you can get out and start doing your work and get on the other side, okay? Once you get on the other side, now you need to discover, okay, God, we done went through all that. That ain't going to change the situation. I can't make him. He has his own free will. You are, allowing these things to happen. Tell me why you got me here. What is my why? Okay, what is my why? And so that's kind of like what I wanted to share with you tonight. 3 reasons why you need to know your why on this journey. Okay, 3 reasons why you need to know your why. The first reason you need to know your why on this journey is because it helps to anchor you. The why helps to anchor you. The why helps to keep you anchored. It keeps you aligned. It keeps you, okay, I'm here. You got me here. What you want me to do from here? From this space, from this place that you have me here, what do you want me to do from this space? All right? So the first reason that you need to know your why is so that it helps to anchor you. It helps to anchor you, okay? The second reason you need to, the reason why you need to know your why is because it helps to stretch you. It helps to stretch you. Many times, a lot of wives do not want to be stretched on this journey, okay? They don't want to be anchored because they don't want to have to do things God's way. They want to be free on this journey. They want to do whatever they want to do. They kind of like want to move around on this journey. They don't want to be submitted to what the Lord is telling them to do. They want to kind of like, have their own, free will on this journey. And it's like, if you're going to do this God's way and you want God's help on this journey, then that means you're going to have to be anchored. All right. And then you're going to also have to be able to stretch. And so that means it is going to require something from you. It is going to require something from you. It is going to require a sacrifice on your part. I always tell wives, if God has asked you to stand or stay in this unhealthy marriage, that is simply your invite. That is simply your invite to kingdom work. That means God is saying, I know I got you here. I know it's, you came here because of your marriage. I know because of your marriage hurt, but guess what? I want to invite you into kingdom assignments. I want to give you other earthly assignments. There is something else that I have for you to do outside of your marriage. We're going to get to your marriage part. We're going to talk about him. We're going to deal with that part. Because if God gives you a specific instruction or has given you something specific concerning your marriage, that God said, oh, I'm going to deliver your husband. Oh, your husband come back home. Oh, your husband's going to be set free. Oh, your marriage is going to be restored. Don't worry about that. I want to talk to you though. Don't worry about what he got going on. I want to deal with you. You need to be okay with God stretching you. You need to be okay with God pulling you. You need to be okay with God pulling, you all out of, pulling all your limbs and all out of, alignment. You need that to happen so you can see what it is that he is trying to do and what he wants to do with you next. Okay. And then number 3, the reason you know your why is because it helps to connect you. It helps to connect you. It helps to connect you with where you supposed to go next on this journey. It's almost like, how they had like a little, back in the day, like the little dots, 1, 2, 3, you're following these dots, to kind of like trace to get to a certain place. On this journey, you need to know your why. Your why is you need to know how to be connected, where you're connected to, what God is connecting you to next. So many wives are trying to, they don't want to be anchored because they don't want to be submitted. They want to do things their own way. They don't want to be stretched because they don't want to have to sacrifice. They don't want to have to invest. They don't want to have to do anything differently. They want things to happen like they want things to happen. And then they don't want to be connected because connection will require change. Connection will require them to do something different. Connecting will require them to do something that's unknown. Connecting will require them to do something out of the ordinary. When all they really want, I just want my husband back. I just want my husband to come back home. I just want things to fall back in place like it used to be. I just want to just go to how things used to be between us. We used to do these things together. We used to travel. We used to do this. He used to say this. He used to say this. And it's like nobody is looking to improve or get better. And this is what God is wanting from you, wife. You have to understand, if God has called you to this place, he's called you to this place because he have other earthly assignments for you. Your marriage will benefit from what God is calling you to. When God called me and told me, you'll be like a Deborah. you'll be like a Deborah. I was like, I wasn't sure about that. I don't really know about that. Like, I read Deborah's story. I go to church now. Jesus. I've been reading this story. I know this lady. I know what this lady, what she did. And I heard stories about, people who are, leaders and prophetess and, in that type of place. And I know the different things that they have to, they have to endure. I don't really know if I want to do that. But God wasn't playing. God wasn't playing. Like, oh, you gonna answer me. Kicking, hollering, screaming, you gonna answer me. And so when he first called me to it, I did not accept it. I did not accept it. And like I said, years had passed before my marriage had even went down, before, I really even started even walking into those things, even though I always had a desire to help people in their relationships, even though I always, and I did do that, even though I always had a desire, to help. People would tell me at work, even at work to this day, but even when I first started out, they said, you have healing hands. You have healing hands. And I wouldn't think nothing of it, but I had heard a sermon recently, and how the man was talking about how sometimes God will put you in a profession. He will put you in a field of what he is calling you to. He'll put you in in a specific field to what he is calling you to do here on earth. And so anytime I would lay my hands on somebody, I'm drawing blood, or I'm doing their blood pressure, or I have to do EKGs and what have you, they would all say, oh, you have healing hands. Oh, your hands are so soft. And I would get that compliment all the time, but I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't think nothing of it. But then when the lady told me, she's like, God is calling you in the area of healing, and I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that until before she told me, when my husband was in the hospital. My mom was a person that had told me that as well. And she told me that, she said, because that was part of our bloodline, that was part of our background. A lot of people didn't take their assignments, and so it was like whoever was willing, whoever was gonna be that willing vessel, like it was me, that's who it fell on next. And so my mom, she was, when my husband was there in the hospital, my mom was there with me, and she saw how I would lay hands on my husband, and how I would pray over him, and how I would, place the oil on him. And so one of the things that she would, tell him, like, afterwards was, your wife prayed you through that. She said, your wife had healing hands. Your wife healed, she had healing hands. God really, really used her to pray you through that. And so that was something I had always heard, on this journey prior to getting to this place. But I had to go through the necessary process. I had to be willing to go through the necessary process to get to the next place. All right. I had to do that. And so, wife, it's imperative that you don't take this marital journey as one that, oh my God, my husband's not here. Oh my God, things are like this. Like, you really need to go on a journey for yourself and really figure out, like, God, you allowed this stuff to happen. What is it that you're doing? What is it that you're trying to show me? What is it that you're trying to teach me? Don't be so quick to throw in a towel. Don't be so quick. And the reasons why, and I'm gonna just say this, I'm gonna come to an end. The reason why so many wives are in a lot of the pain that they're still in, a reason why a lot of wives are still struggling like they're struggling, because they're still trying to do things themselves. They're still trying to have control over. They're still trying to, peep over there what he got going on. They're still trying to, be friends with their husband. They're still trying to be in their husband's world. They're still trying to pay attention. I can't tell you the years that I went with my husband and I, us being in the home, us not being intimate, us not, talking, us not communicating, us passing by each other like we're strangers. That's a very, very uncomfortable and hard place to be in, right? That's a very uncomfortable and hard place to be in. But there were many times where I remember where God would tell me, don't you say nothing. Like, don't even don't even move your lips to say something, because you're going to mess it up. It's like you're going to mess it up. And so I need you to be quiet. Exodus 14:14, go and read that. Like, I need you to be quiet on this journey. I need you, because this is the only way I'm going to be able to get you to that next place. All right. And wives are unwilling. They're unwilling to be anchored. They're unwilling to be stretched, and they're unwilling to connect. And those are the three things that is part of your why. Those are three other reasons why you need to find out your why. You need to find out your why so you can be anchored, so you can be stretched, so you can be connected. You need to find out your why. Why does God have you on this journey? There is more to this journey than just your marriage. And so I wanted to just bring it to your attention. I wanted to share that with you, give you something to kind of chew on as you're going into this new month. I always say, I've been saying this for a while. September is our shifting season. Things are getting ready to change. God is doing miraculous things already. Coach T, me, I've gotten 3 confirmations about something that God has shared with me. And it has been such a blessing. It has been such a blessing. And I'm like, I receive it. So that's another reason why I'm like, I need to go chew on that. I need to go and sit with that. I need to go and, renew my mind and get myself together for me going into the month of September, because God has me in a season where He is doing some things in me. And it's like, I'm giving you these things ahead of time so you can go and rest and prepare for them. And so, I'm doing a Labor Day promotion. Now, I am that coach. Like I said, I'm not going to do Bible study with you. We're not going to sit here and we're going to open the Bible. They have places for that. They have people for that. They have, things for that. I am more of a teacher, leader, visionary coach, right? Teacher, leader, visionary coach. I'm more on the leadership side of coaching once wives are, in a healthier place. But for the ones, even not just wives, but for the woman as well. Y'all know I sometimes come in here and talk about entrepreneurship. Y'all know I have my manual, Her Own Boss Manual. This would be a good time for you to take advantage of that and get that, because I am offering a entrepreneur workshop for the next 4 months, for the rest of, for the remaining time for this year. I'm doing a promotion. I'm doing a Labor Day promotion. If you connected with me through my email, I've already sent out an email talking about it. I think it was on Sunday, but then I will be sending out another one on Saturday, where I am inviting women into the room of leadership, entrepreneurship, business. We will be following along in my Her Own Boss Manual, so it will be good for you to get the manual. You can get the download, or if you want the actual book, you can also get the book sent to you, and it will come. If you want the book, I will also send you the T-shirt, and so you can get you can get that. And so I'm doing this for the wives, for the women, not just wives. I wanted to make sure I emphasize it's not just for the women. It's not just for wives. It's for women. For the ones who are saying, all right, I know that there's more that God wants from me. If you are a woman who knows that God has called you to leadership, God is calling you to business, God is calling you to entrepreneurship, or even that God is, has already, placed you in a place where you are already doing business. Let's say you already are established and running your business. This workshop will be very, very, very helpful to you. We are going to talk about, of course, just, profiting, advertisement, the, importance of niching down, and just what it means to be a Christian business woman. I do reference some business women from the Bible, some entrepreneur women from the Bible. I do reference some of those, and so it's a 90-minute session. It's going to be once a month. Like I said, we'll be doing it September, October, November, and December. But for the month of September, I do have a Labor Day promotion where you can take the workshop for $65. I even made the price cheaper so that more women can benefit from it. All right. If I'm going to do a group, it'll be a group like that. I'm not going to be sitting here around just talking with women about their husbands and, reading these sob stories. No, I'm going to be that woman, that wife coach, who is going to help to, push you on to what you need to be doing. You have other earthly assignments. I'm that coach. I want to push you to do your other earthly assignments. So the entrepreneur workshop will be available. Like I said, September, October, November, and December. If you are not connected with me on my email, get connected, because I do, like I said, share a lot of information about that, and I will be sending an email out on Saturday. The workshop itself, just the workshop by itself for 90 minutes, to be part of the discussion, to be, part of the group, is $65. That's not including the PayPal fee, y'all. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, I thought you said it was $65. Okay, the PayPal fee is separate. So $65 is how much it is. That's not including the PayPal fee, which is only like $10. So that would put you at $75 versus $85. But in the months of October, November, December, we won't have a promotion for that. So you want to take advantage of it and want to see if there's something that you'd be interested in, if it's something that you want to just learn about, something that you may be interested, in, if you're interested in leadership, if you're interested in entrepreneurship, if you're interested in business, or if you are already a woman who is in business, who already have their own business, but want to know how I can profit, how I can, make a little bit more side money, how I can advertise my business more, how I can, niche down, and, what woman in the Bible that I resonate with the most as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, as a as a leader. And so those are some of the things and some of the topics that we will be hitting and discussing. I'm going to also have some guest speakers that's going to come in and speak also about entrepreneurship, about business and leadership as well. And so this is something that, I would say be a part of something like this. I know in the coaching world, they call it like mastermind. And, people that have like mastermind groups and, they say you have to pay to get in the room. But I wanted to make this affordable. I want to make this affordable for, I want to say, serious inquiries again, for the ones who are really, really serious about improving and really, really serious about bouncing back financially, or really, really serious about, making them a little side money, really, really serious about, I really want to get to this next place. I've been having a lot of feedback for the ones I have already been working with, who has already, like, in the beginning stages of starting a business. A lot of people have questions. I always say I try to produce, manuals that I wish somebody would have had for me when I started out. Like, I wish somebody would have told me how to start my business. I wish somebody would have told me how to, advertise. I wish they don't teach you that in, coaching school. That's another story. They don't teach you that part. They don't show you how to, charge, and they say stuff, but it doesn't help. And so I put together the Her Own Boss manual for this reason. I always say I want to be able to, if my niece or my, my sons or, my, family members, they want to know how to start their business, they can look at this manual and follow the steps and give themselves a visual of what they need to do to start their own, their own business, or to start, advertising their business, or to start, to figure out how to niche down, or to just understand the business and, the industry that they're going in. And so this will be an opportunity. This will be an opportunity for you to be a part of that. If you want to be a part of one of Coach T's groups, be a part of this entrepreneurship business leadership group. Like I said, it's a workshop. You can pay the discounted amount this time, $65, using the promotion for Labor Day. But then the months of October, November, December, it will go back to the normal price at $75. Still a real cheap price. Still good for 90 minutes. It gives you opportunity for, Q&A. You have questions. If something that, you'll be following along in the book. So if you have questions or whatever, I give homework assignments, I give accountability assignments and it's just giving you an opportunity to kind of like start building your own brand, building your business, building, what it is that you want to do next. Wise women, there are other things that God is calling us to. You are not only here to just be your husband's wife. You're not only called to just be a mom. You're not only called to just be working on that regular 9-to-5 job. I'm telling you, there are other things that God are calling you to in this season. And I always say, don't miss your shift. So if you want to be a part of that, you can send me an email. Just go to my website, www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Until I hire more people who can run my social sites in a little bit more way, I'd like to deal with my clients one-on-one, so I don't put things on myself for you to purchase that way. If I myself don't send you the link, then it ain't me, okay? Because it's too much stuff going on out here. So there is a link that I will, put in here if you want to purchase the Her Own Boss manual. And then if you want to participate and be part of the the workshop, you can also be a part of the workshop. All right. But if you are ready to start doing your own personal work, and you're ready to connect with the provider, with the right wife coach provider, I want to encourage you to sign up today for your wife consultation. All right. You can sign up at www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Listen, wife. Find out your reasons why you need to know your why on this journey. You need to find out your reasons why you need to know your why on this journey, and get on board with the things that God is calling you to. Listen, y'all have a happy Labor Day weekend, and I will see y'all sometime next week. All right? Blessings.